Hi guys and gals, this is Dennis Brown again, and with a find that I kind of ran across about 2 weeks ago, I guess. Something told me to go to Guitar Center, which is not something, I do that once a month, I guess. And most of used guitars, prices are a little bit too high for my taste. I mean, by the time you, especially if you buy online, because by the time you pay shipping and tax and all that, you're almost getting to a new price. But they do have some good deals every now and then. And I found one, an old guitar that probably 20 years old or maybe a little more, that some of you will know, some of you won't, at least the brand name. And that would be Aria Pro. Some people call it Aria Pro. I believe it's Aria Pro, but what do I know? Aria Pro Fullerton. The Fullertons are kind of a different line for them. They've started back in the 50s and making guitars in Japan. And actually they had another manufacturer there make them for them, and then they built their own factory. And in the 70s, their stuff was, pretty good. By the time they got to the 80s, their stuff was really good. And you have a lot of guys, Cliff from Metallica and Yngwie, and that actually were endorsers and played their guitars. This one here was actually made in South Korea. And this was in the late 90s when they started making their budget stuff. So I believe this is like an FH10 model. And they started making their inexpensive stuff in Korea instead of in Japan. It was a lot less money at that time. Now it's a lot more expensive to build in South Korea. But so they built them in South Korea, and then they built their high-end stuff actually in America. They actually had a factory here in the U.S. And so it's one of those names that, like I say, a lot of people don't know who they are, but they kind of know guitars. They've done it in a while. It is basically a Stratocaster type guitar. It's not a straight copy in that it's the cutaways and stuff. This has a little longer of a horn. It's slightly different dimensions. Take a look at that, which looks weird, right? It's supposed to be, coming down this way, but it's not. And it actually makes sense. You plug the jack in here, you run the cord over here under your strap. A neat innovation that really never caught on. I think Ibanez does something similar with an input that doesn't have this large bezel. This is very, very different. Exposing this part of the pickup and all of that. And it's just a way to differentiate their product and make a Strat copy without it being a Strat copy, in a nutshell. Generally speaking, their stuff is pretty good. I mean, if you find some older ones, even their cheap ones are pretty good guitars, and they were really good for the money. They tend to have fairly slim necks. There's certain things that I'm not in love with. The tuners that are on this, I know that looks like Squire junk, right? Like Bullet, entry level. They're actually decent tuners. They just use that in casing, and they look a lot cheaper than they really are. Other innovations, they were doing this, before, I think Fender still uses a square, cutout on most of their guitars. I don't understand why, because this is so easy to do, and it makes a huge difference in fret access and to getting up into the upper. I mean, I can reach way past the frets, but so 22 frets. The saddles look like they're kind of pop metalish, but everything else looks like it's pretty good, and the sound is good. This one's been a bit abused, and it's going to need a new nut. And every time I bend, I'll pop it. I'll pop the G-string just clean out of the nut. So, but that's okay. I can put a new nut on it. That's not a big deal. But I thought what I'd do is let you see these. I now tell you point blank, I paid $130 in tax, which I think is a really good deal for the guitar. I think anything under $200 would have been okay if this is what you want. You will see their stuff sell anywhere from $75 to $100 for just, garage sale steals, up to, $200, $300, $400, $500, depending on the model. Some of their really high-end stuff will sell for a lot more, or their Pro line stuff, which was still imported, but it was just really, really good. And I've owned a few of those that were just beautiful guitars. This is more of a basic guitar, not so much entry level, but just a basic guitar with not a lot of bells and whistles. But it does have 3 really good pickups, and that's one of the things that these guitars are known for, which is they have good pickups. And what we're going to do is let you listen to it just a little bit to get an idea. So if you run across one in your pawn shop hunting, garage sale hunting, or maybe you already have, and that's why you came to this video, you'll know that, hey, this is not junk. You know, it's inexpensive, but it's pretty good inexpensive. And if everything's solid, it might be worth you plugging in and taking a listen to, and maybe finding a good deal on it. So let's take a listen. And there you have it. That's the Aria Pro II Fullerton with some basic sound samples. And let me tell you one thing real quick so you know. The amp that I used for this demo was not the Marshall or the Fender. It's actually used a acoustic G35, a very inexpensive. They're constantly on sale for $100. But I like to do that in some of my demos. I like to use more affordable amps simply because that's all a lot of people have, or that's what a lot of people use, and not everybody can afford a Marshall DSL. So still, what I did is I ran in the clean channel that, and then I used a Boss ME50, an old multi-effects unit. They've been around for years and years and years. You can get them used for $50 to $100, and it's pretty good. If you just want a box with a bunch of effects, it's and 40 presets. It's a pretty good little box to play with if you want to find something on a budget. So, but yeah, all in all, I'm pretty happy with the guitar. It's going to need a little bit of work, and it'll probably stay in my collection unless I find just a really high-end Aria Pro to take its place. So hopefully you learned something, and and if you run across one when you're bargain hunting, plug it in, give it a chance, and see what you think. Until next time.